Hey, welcome back to the Midday Q&A over here at Duckman Cycles and VW Garage. I'm your host, the Duckman. We're back today with my 1968 Volkswagen Fastback, not Beetle. This time I didn't say it wrong. Behind me here, her name is Ruby. And what I've done most recently is I've upgraded the air cleaners and the throttle linkage. And I thought I was going to be done talking about this, but I still get a lot of questions asked about it. A lot of questions. So I figured we should address some of these. I'm also going to take her for a little bit of a ride using the GoPro over here to shoot video to watch the linkage and little contraptions do their job as I'm driving along. So anyways, you're probably going to want to stay tuned for that, so please like, comment, subscribe, plug the little dingle belly next to the subscribe button. That way you get updates every time I upload a new video. And don't forget, you want to check out Duckman Cycles VW Garage up on the Facebook group page. And if you'd like to email me, duckmancycles@duckshit.net. Thanks again for watching, you guys. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to give me that thumbie. Thumbie's really important. Here comes the intro. Yeah, if you're looking at it, you'll realize that September is long since over, and it's November, and my sticker is expired. But that's actually false, because I've actually got a new sticker. People have been asking about it. Every time they see my license plate, I get picked on about it. I just haven't put it on there. I'm going to do that today before I take the thing out for a drive, but it's just been sitting up in my sun visor, just occupying space. If I ever got pulled over, I'd just be like, yeah, here, officer. I just didn't get around to doing it. I don't know. I went to the tax office, I grabbed all the paperwork, and I bolted the hell out of there because I had a service call, so it never made its way on a license plate. And last year's actually never made its way onto my 350Z either. But we're going to get to that. We're going to stick that on that plate today. There we go. I stuck it right over the last one because I don't really care. Usually I take a heat gun and I peel the old one off. This time I don't feel like dealing with it. But that's done just for the people that like to comment. If they don't see it, they don't think it happens. Sometimes I edit things out of videos. It doesn't always make its way into video. This one made its way into video. Now I don't want to hear nothing about it from nobody. There it is. It is effectively done and good for another year. And it turns out, after doing a little reading online, that I'm not the only one that had fitment issues down below here with the carburetors and aftermarket air cleaners. It turns out there's a lot of people that do have these issues, but none of them were as severe as mine with a crushed trunk. Some of them had the problems with stock, and they were just barely in the way, and I could see that because that one's kind of close. I think that lip is right about in the stock location, and it's really close to that air cleaner, but when this engine's running and it's cold, it wobbles a lot. Like it's typical. It's not firing all cylinders until it gets hot. Once it's hot and it runs evenly, it's fine. But when it's bouncing around, it still does not come close to that lip. There's still quite a bit of space in there. I'd say up to about up to a quarter of an inch where it counts. And I have not noticed it banging on that. I looked at the air cleaner and I had it out earlier. I didn't see any marks on it from when I drove it around the other night. So I think it's good to go. I'm going to leave these alone. I don't think I'm going to invest in the low-profile air cleaners. Not yet, anyway. We'll see how I feel about that down the road in the future. But right now, I think things are great. And I'm going to leave it as is. This is a good setup. Now, one of the biggest questions that I keep getting, and I keep getting repeatedly, people don't read each other's comments, I keep giving the answers and I keep typing them out, but because they keep getting asked, I figured I should address it in the video. But yes, the air cleaners are inside of an engine compartment, and the engine compartment is a warm place, and that does mean that the air cleaners do draw in warm air from the engine compartment. But, here's the big caveat, because this is all an aftermarket system, I got aftermarket carburetors and things on here, the stock oil bath air cleaner is not going to fit. I tried to make it fit. I even tried to use the stock linkages, and I couldn't make any of it work without some severe modifications to the system. I don't like chopping up a good system. I have a good air cleaner system and a set of stock carburetors that I could easily put back on here, but I kind of like these FRDs. They're really easy to tune. They perform really well. There's no reason I would want to just tear out what I had working just fine. So I just added to it. What it needed was some new air cleaners and some proper linkages, and that's what I did here. Now, the stock system normally does draw cold air from right here. There's usually a pipe that comes off to the oil bath cleaner that's here, and then there's a big tube that crosses over to both carburetors on either side. Now, the Type 3 is the only air-cooled Volkswagen, if I'm not mistaken. And no, I think the Type 4 had it too, as well as some of the Type 2s. But I believe the The Type 3 was the first air-cooled Volkswagen to have dual carburetors, and it was out of necessity because everything is so squat and so low that a single carburetor really wasn't of an option unless you had a proper side draft or something, but I'm not aware of those existing. They had run dual carburetors on these things since the beginning. In doing the aftermarket stuff on here, of course, I did have to upgrade to some aftermarket air cleaners and stuff, and I do draw hot air from the engine compartment. I think I've said that already a million times, but I keep hearing it a million times, so I'm going to make everybody watch it a million times. But yes, they are drawing hot air from the engine compartment. But here's the caveat. As soon as you start moving, where's the hot air go? Out. There's a constant blast of cool air coming from the front. So when I'm sitting in traffic, or perhaps I'm just idling, you know, at a parking lot, or, you know, at a red light or something, yeah, of course, they're going to be drawing some warm air. But when the car is moving, that air's not really going to be quite as hot as you think. And the difference of performance between that of an engine bay intake, and I'm thinking of the Honda kids in particular, the ones that upgrade to the cold air intakes and think they're getting a 20 horsepower gain. You're not. You're probably getting like 1 to 3, maybe 5 if you have an ECU tune to go with it. But yeah, there's not that much of a difference in installing a cold air intake. Will there be a performance difference? Yes. Will it be like 1 to 2%? Maybe. But on a 50 horsepower engine, that's a horsepower or less. And that's only when the car's sitting idle and the engine bay is allowed to soak up hot air. Otherwise, when it's moving, like I said, all that stuff comes out. There's a draft that's going to come up and over that firewall area. There's a draft that's going to come up through here. All this is going to be blown away. So as far as how much hot air it's going to get, it's not that much. It's clearly not as much as it would be if it was a proper cold air intake, which, by the way, that vent that's behind here goes to the gills on the side of the car. But, yeah, I'm not the least bit concerned about that. Everybody keeps coming down on me about that one, but you know what? I don't care. The system works just fine. I've been running this car this way with air cleaners underneath the deck lid for the last 3, 4, 5 years that I've had the car. And the only problems I had was with the crappy air cleaners that used to be on here that were collapsing on themselves. That's no longer an issue with this setup. I used to drive the thing in the summer, too, even in hot air here in Florida. And I can't say that I had any problems with it. You know, no problems at all, except for, of course, the air cleaners collapsing on themselves. But that's a separate problem. It has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with the fact that the hot air is being drawn in through the through the system inside the car here. I very much like what I have. I'm not going to change it. I'm not changing it for anybody. I'm not going to have a problem here. I know I'm not. This thing works great as it is. I'm going to leave it be. And as far as driving this thing on a hot day in the summer anyway, it doesn't have air conditioning. Guess what? I don't do a whole lot of driving in a Volkswagen in Florida in the summer because it's just too damn hot. Just too damn hot. The concerns of having the excessive heat in the engine bay is nonsense. You guys don't need to worry about it. People have been running these cars this way for many, many years, and I don't think there's going to be an issue here. We're going to be just fine. Thanks a lot for that one. Really, thank you guys, but it needed to be addressed because you guys just keep talking about it. There it is. It's not an issue, and I don't think we need to talk about that one anymore. So no sense of beating a dead horse. You know what it is. Let's go ahead and take this thing out and take it for a ride. We'll fire up the GoPro over there, and we'll see this thing in action. Okay, we're ready to go. Let's go ahead and fire this sucker up. This thing has always been a really good starter, even when it was cold. Well, that is, after everything was properly in tune, it always started real easily. Got the deck lid open behind me. You can probably see it flapping. I tried to leave it open so that way it had some light in the engine compartment. So the GoPro back there can actually see what's going on. Engine's still a little bit cold. Just a little bit. crap out of some kid walking down the road. Honestly, I wasn't going that fast. I was about 40. But, you know, Volkswagen. The glass pack exhaust. And dual carburetors. It's got a roar to it. It makes noise. Whoops. Trunk lid just closed going over a speed bump. I've been at highway speed before and it stayed open, but going over speed bumps it closes. It bumped the camera just enough to knock it out of position, so it wasn't pointing at the engine anymore. A little more gentle over the speed bumps because the deck lid just doesn't like it. That was about 50. That was a little fast for back here on the back roads, but demonstrated it working though. You hear them carburetors start to go blah! When you know that thing is really cooking. That was when they do that spit back that I was talking about, when the rubber air cleaner that I used to have would get sucked down. When you hit that certain RPM, where them carburetors spit back just like that, where they roar, blah, is when the air cleaner would blow off the top of the carburetor and not get sucked down anymore because the pulses are shoving it back off. Good low range, much better mid-range, which is something this car never had. The mid-range was always for crap. And wide open, it seems like it's got a little more nuts than it used to. And I will attribute that to the much better breathing filters and the fact that the air cleaner, the rubber lid that was on it wasn't so close to the opening of the carburetor, so choking it off. Something else comes to mind that I haven't done yet, and I know you guys would have yelled at me for. But you guys didn't see me oil my gauze filters, and that's something you're supposed to do. And I've got an oil kit for it in the garage, and I will do it. It's really not as big of a deal if you're not driving in a dusty environment, like just on the street, but it is something that I will do to it anyway, because that's the proper thing to do. Also, the tops and bottoms of the rubber air cleaner, there's a groove that runs around it, and you're supposed to put a sealer grease in there too. So that way the lid will seal against the top and bottom of the air cleaner properly. So that way air doesn't try to sneak around it. I also need to finish putting back in the missing studs. I can't find the wing nuts. I don't know what the hell I did with them. I had them in a tray full of nuts and bolts when I was working on this car. And the tray is still there and it has all the nuts and bolts in it that I was using except for the wing nuts. I don't know where the hell they went. I have no idea. Studs are there, but the wing nuts are gone. Maybe I dropped them down in the engine. I'm kidding. I gotta do something about this shifter too. It's an aftermarket Empey Hurst shifter, Hurst style shifter, and I love these things. I really like the way they feel. I wish I had an original Hurst though, that the Empey one seems to come out of alignment on the floor a little bit. It makes it hard to find first and second. Once I get it realigned, it's fine, but it has a tendency to slip back out of position. But I like it because it's tall and it angles back towards me. So me being a tall driver with my seat pushed as far back as it'll go, a longer, further back shifter makes a big difference for somebody like me. The stock shifter was so close to the floor, I had to actually sit forwards to reach. Well, I think we're good. Wish I had somewhere I could go do a donut. Unfortunately, there's too many people around. On the weekend, maybe I'll hit a grassy field and do a donut. Anyways, you guys, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, pluck that dingle belly you see down there next to the subscribe button. That way you get updates every time that I upload a new video. And don't forget, Duckman Cycles VW Garage up on the Facebook group page. And if you'd like to email me, duckmancycles@duckshit.net. Thanks a lot, you guys. Really appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time.